All right, how's everybody doing? So, I followed my emotional guidance system and said, why not give this a try? Here we are. It's like 5 o'clock in LA, Pasadena to be exact. And it's the sun's going down. So, for those of you who are not in California, I'm nowhere near Sunset Boulevard. Okay, corny joke. Let's move on. So, I think I'm going to possibly increase the frequency by which I record these videos. I kind of had in my mind to do like one a week, right? And I said, well, I don't know. I'm getting comfortable with it. So let's move on. And this time I didn't even write like a roadmap. I have an idea what I want to talk about today, but I didn't write it down. So I'm just going to try. And if this works, great. And if it doesn't, then we'll just try again. And so these videos that I'm doing are basically brain dumps, information dumps. Through the process of iteration, I'm going to continue to develop this channel, continue to develop my content, continue to develop I don't know if you call it internet presence or online presence or on camera presence, maybe a combination of all three. Just continuing to get more and more comfortable being on camera. And what I wanted to talk about today is creativity and the fact that I work in a creative profession. So, in addition to writing, I'm also an actor. I'm not that active, but I occasionally appear in plays. When I was most active as an actor, I was mostly on stage in theater. And being on camera was something I was never comfortable with. I auditioned once for a reality TV series, but had I taken an on-camera course, because they were offered at the time, it might have, I don't know. I don't know if it would have changed much, but at that particular time, it was more fun. Acting on stage was more fun. And the last time I was on stage, it was artistically fulfilling. And I'm proud of the work that I did, but the sense of fun wasn't there because I wasn't entirely in a mode of creation the way I was when I was creating characters and really feeling my interactions with my fellow actors, if that makes sense. So, in other words, I guess you might say it becomes less real. Less real in the sense that as time goes on, you approach things in general more analytically. But you never want to get to the point where it's literally you have a voice in the back of your head going, move up, move down. You don't want to turn into that. There's people who do that, and it's like it's so obvious, it's crazy. I mean, that's part of it. Like, for example, when you're driving, if you're a good driver, you know that you should be able to track everything that you're doing. And there's numerous methods for learning how to do that. And when I think most people, when they get a download like that, well, no, I don't want to go down this road right now. I'm going to keep everything positive. But suffice to say, it's a pet peeve. There's a lot of bad drivers out there. There's a lot of people who, in general, this is what I was trying to say there. I'll just leave it at this, that when they receive downloads of information that is actually there to help them, they misapply it and they twist it around and make it mean something that it doesn't mean. And that's why I said people are not together. They're kind of grouped. And so that's all there is. And if it's nerve-wracking at this point, you know, it's one of those things. Do you say something funny to break the tension, or do you just let the tension do what it's doing? To which I don't always have an answer. I mean, sometimes it's just you decide it um, rationally, or you just kind of feel like, you know, I'm going to break the tension, tell a joke, even if it's not in good taste. But I think you say in that regard. So today's video is actually about writing and the writing journey that I'm on and where I would like to go with that, the work that I've done in that regard, where I am now and where I would like to be with it. So with regard to writing, writing has always been something that I've aspired to be able to do. It's an area that I was encouraged by my father, especially, but other, I think, what's the best way to say this? Like other maybe authority figures, or maybe just some of my peers in general, encouraged me in this regard. Um, and so I wrote my first play when I was in high school. It wasn't anything brilliant, by the way. Um, the last play that I appeared in was a play by Samuel Beckett called Endgame, a one-act play. And I was very proud of myself for tackling a role that was that complex, and a play that was that complex, um, and that challenging and daunting, because you really got to focus on, you know, it's a challenge to get through because he has a lot to say, um, and there aren't a lot of commercial breaks. There aren't any commercial breaks, and there's certainly no musical numbers. So, but when I started acting, I was involved with musical theater, and the first play that I wrote was a Christmas musical, um, which was mostly just kind of a silly storyline to have an excuse for musical numbers. So it was fun. It was fun. Um, there were numerous attempts at writing plays and screenplays that I've never really went anywhere, and I don't know where they are. And they're probably not even worth talking about at this point. But that's not true. I think about it now. It's like I don't know. Maybe they weren't that bad, but still, you have to develop your craft and learn. So, as a writer, that took me in the direction of research writing. In my college years, I had to take English 101 several times. And the reason I couldn't pass that, and I had to take it over and over again, was because I couldn't get formatting, uh, uh, like following the rules of uh, citations and things like that. And um, um, I've always kind of gravitated toward like a kind of strict, rigid environment, whether it's work or school. And whenever I'm in that type of environment, I tend to thrive. I think it's because I went to a Catholic school, for grammar school and high school, and it's different in that there really isn't social promotion in Catholic schools. Um, they really expect you to know in whatever they're teaching you to have competencies in that area. So I'm told that civics lessons are better in the public schools. Um, that's my understanding of all of that. And I've learned not to talk about this because it's a touchy issue for some people. So I won't go any further with it. So suffice to say that that was my journey in terms of writing. In order to pass English 101, which I was determined to do, I really had to hunker down. Every one of my professors was adamant that you have to make sure you're doing this. And one in particular was just right from the beginning, you're going to work, and this is what we need, right? So Eventually I mastered that, and mastering it is just kind of having enough familiarity with it so that you're not tearing your hair out over it. Having graduated college, going to grad school, currently being a part-time law student, it's not as it's I mean it's like it's kind of like common sense by now. So it's always challenging because the rules of all of that are always so slight and they're so nuanced, and it's like, come on, what difference does this make? And they're constantly changing them, and it's all kinds of detailed things. But it's it's okay. I mean, because it gets you thinking, basically. Um, so creative writing for a long time has not been part of what I do as a writer until I would say, gosh, we're now talking maybe 7 or 8, 9 years ago, when I answered an ad in the Chicago Tribune when I was still living there. Um, a guy, a guy who teaches screenwriting, great guy by the way. I learned a lot from him. Signed up for his course. I had this vision of a movie that I wanted to write, and I had it in my head. This is going to be a blockbuster movie. It was just like that idea kind of downloaded to me. I was like, I got to do this, you know. Um, it was a reboot of the Untouchables set in modern time. And it all came to me because of the energies that were around. It was very angry, much angrier than now. Um, to kind of connect that to all the political stuff, I mean, it was much, people were really pissed and no one really knows why. But it was, I kind of, even though everybody was under the radar screen at each other's throats at that time, like 2015, 2016, um, I mean, it was just everybody was angry. So there was a kind of collective thing there. Thank God it's different now in terms of like the overall collective. We seem to be waking up and think that there's kind of a critical mass developing to kind of offset all of that angry energy that never quite goes away. So so I took that course. I learned how to write. I learned formatting. I learned storytelling techniques, and I studied with him for a couple of years, and then I got it in my head, I'm going to move to LA. I'm going to move to California. He didn't like that, by the way, but I continued with him for a while, vis-a-vis the phone. And then COVID happened, and I lost motivation and kind of dropped the ball on that. But I did still finish the first draft of that eventually while I was here, and it's still there. I still shop it around. I get some good feedback. I got one really great notice from somebody that I would love to work with, but I haven't heard back from uh, from that producer for a long time. So we'll see where that goes. I don't know. I've been told others. The form that it's taken now, incidentally, is something that is not the original concept. It's kind of like the before story. This one that I'm telling now is like the before story of that. So it's still basically that concept, but just kind of it's further back in the timeline of the the world building that uh, I was doing with all of that. So anyway, COVID happened. I lost motivation. I signed up for, eventually found a really great screenwriting course here that is mostly online, and so I still have access to it. And it's a great system that I still use. And then slowly I started to kind of return to writing. And over the course of the past, I don't know, gosh, I mean, it's like not even that long. It's of course 3 years. I've completed, I would say, I mean, and why am I waffling about this? I'll explain this in a second. I would say I've completed 5 full-length screenplays. Now, I've written maybe, I don't know, 10 or 15 full-length screenplays, but some of them need work and some of them are not ready. And I've written several short scripts as well. I've submitted them to producers. I've submitted them to film festivals. One of my scripts won an award in a film festival. Um, and now I'm just at the mode where I'd like to to actually get a film made. And my strategy is to get a short film made, whether it's something that I kind of write on the fly. No, let me put that a different way. Not write on the fly. It's more that with experience and iteration, I can get what would have taken me years before to actually complete it would take me much, much less time now. So it could be one of the short films that I've written, or it could be just some completely new concept. And so that's where I'm at in my writing journey. And what I would like to do is to teach screenwriting. And I'm still connected with the guy who that I met here, whose resource is mostly online. So I'm still connected with him, and we talk about this a lot. And so it's just a matter of getting to, I think, the right audience. Is basically, well, I don't know. I mean, it's in other words, I'm ready to go with it. I'm ready. No, 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 put it a different way. I'm ready to do it, is what I mean. So with his encouragement, I eventually started teaching online. I started a Facebook page and advertised and got some people in. They didn't show up for the classes because they were free. Um, but I got through 7 modules, and I would do the Zoom thing, and I would just conduct the lesson anyway, even when no one was showing up, only because uh, I figured, well, I'll be on camera, I'll have content that I can use later. And sure enough, that paid off. I was right to do that because, and my screenwriting coach agreed with me about this, that it was better to do it that way, because now I actually have an ebook that's like 70 pages. It's based on the course that I was teaching. So I'm preparing for the next round of this course, Screenwriting Made Simple, also known as the 7-day screenwriting challenge. It's essentially how to write a short film in 7 days, which I think is a good path for a filmmaker who's starting out, um, a filmmaker who wants to go the independent route, because the short script functions as a proof of concept for a feature film. And having that under your belt, writing a short script, which might be anywhere from 15 to 20 pages or longer than that, depending on the story you're telling, is that you can expand it. And once you have that and you see that it works in that format, then it takes the sting out of the work ahead, which is still complex, because it will take you a year to expand that to a feature length. But knowing that you have a proof of concept, that it takes a lot of the strain and the stress and the worry overall. Because the fact of it is, with all the AI stuff makes things easier for creative people, is the way I see all of that. And I honestly believe, when it comes down to it, even though I love writing, and I will freely admit we don't like to think about this, but there's some ego things there. I mean, just in terms of the emotions that are always raveled up in all of that for everybody. So I admit that, but still, I'm not an egotistical person. But I try to be honest with myself that that's part of why I'm still doing it. But sometimes I think, if I had a choice, if someone said to me, let's say God came down from heaven, or let's say Aladdin showed up with his lamp, knocked on my window at night and said, hey, make a wish. All right, fine. Either way, right? And the choice is either you become a successful writer, or you become a successful web developer. Most of the time, I'm being very honest about something here, I would choose to be a successful web developer. Most of the time when I reach that conclusion, I think I'm downplaying the egotistical reasons why I'm involved with writing and screenwriting and filmmaking. And plus, I do enjoy it. I love film. I love seeing films. You know, the other choice that might that one might say is you have the choice between being a great filmmaker and a great appreciator of film, like the greatest audience member. You're engaged with it, you read books about it, you get excited. It's a regular movie going habit, and everything else in life is working either way, right? Honestly, that would also be not that tough of a choice in terms of I'd be happier either way. That, but anyway, so I think the lighting might be getting kind of wonky. I don't know why it just beeped. We keep going though for a little while. So that's the screenwriting journey. And yes, eventually this is going to be, I'm still going to uh, uh, have a YouTube channel that's just entertainment, but you know, it of course, I mean, TV's like everything's like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, yes, the creative part is important, but eventually I'm going to be promoting my products and services and probably selling ad space and things like that. But again, it's iteration. I'm just doing kind of a brain info dump to get all my thoughts out there and to keep iterating this, looking at my recordings again, seeing how I'm doing, what can I improve? And eventually you just kind of know. You get an intuitive nudge that says, okay, you're ready to take this to the next level. So there's going to be more information. I haven't figured out how I'm going to use YouTube to promote my screenwriting course. I'm still working on some things there, um, but more to come. And I probably will post some free content with if you are interested in writing, regardless of whether you aspire to uh, becoming the greatest filmmaker of all time, or you'd like to write an independent film, or whatever. Even if you just want to take courses for personal um, enjoyment, that's totally fine too. So that's all I have for today. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to my audience, my audience that's tiny but mighty, which is to say very few people are looking at this now, but I have a lot of confidence that I'm just going to keep working at it, and eventually I'll have a much larger audience here. So at whatever point in time you're looking at this video, it's relevant. So thank you for sitting through the whole thing.